Chapter 41 Confession and Lao Deng. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yu Buchuan's extremely abnormal scene really frightened Ning Zhongzi. For decades, when had her elegant senior brother been in such an embarrassing state? It made her heartache and she couldn't control her tears. What happened, senior brother? Don't do this, even if the sky falls. Come down and I will bear it with you. That his wife's words made Lao Yu almost cry again. This scene was similar to the most difficult time of the Huashan sect more than 20 years ago. Now Lao Yu just wanted to shout, with a wife like this, what else can a husband ask for? Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network. He hugged Ning Zhongzi very rudely. Nothing, I was suddenly reminded by my seniors and found that my state of mind has gone astray over the years. I almost made a mistake and stepped into the abyss. I felt sorry for you, sorry for Shaner, and sorry for the entire Huashan. Something about pie. Lao Yu's complicated and exciting mood at this moment cannot be described in one sentence. First, he was frightened by the superb swordsmanship, exposing his greed, and then disturbed his mind by the subsequent condition of only a gentleman can become a gentleman. The last message that completely saw through him was like a bucket of cold water being poured down from the beginning. In the past scenes, young people made up their minds, young people put their efforts into practice, and inherited the leadership in the autumn of crisis. The husband and wife supported him and worked hard step by step. Until now, he couldn't find the direction and became confused. He began to forget his original intention and began to seek wrong paths. Gentlemen. What is a gentleman? Lao Yu really experienced a wake-up call. Completely wake him up from his obsession. Probably even Lu Yuan himself didn't expect that his prank-like operation could have such a big impact on Yu Buchuan. Senior? What senior? Ning Zhong could feel her husband's sincerity when he said this, and felt the strength of Lao Yu holding her. While her heart felt warm, she also became curious about the seniors he mentioned. Could it be that her Huashan sect still had any remaining seniors? Lao Yu took out the manuscript very openly this time. This is what I suddenly discovered when I entered the secret room just now. The sword moves in it can be seen as the shadow of my Huashan sect. Only the older generation of Huashan seniors can pass down such extraordinary swordsmanship and know this secret room. Existence. As for what I said about seniors' advice. Well, junior sister, you can see for yourself. After his emotions calmed down a little, Lao Yu's gentlemanly reserve came back, but his words were full of sincerity. Ning Zhong took it, saw the name of the secret book, and read softly, Harem sword. As she continued to read, her eyes began to shine brighter and brighter, and she even raised her hand to make sword finger gestures from time to time. Now she could finally understand why Lao Yuan didn't see it, but was so sure that this swordsmanship was passed down from the senior Huashan. Without him, this simple 12-way sword technique almost captures all the essence of the Huashan sect, all the exquisite and touching feelings. No one from Huashan school would not be happy or addicted after seeing them, until she saw the second half, nourishing the heart of the sword with awe-inspiring aura. The content was described in great detail. Gentleman was written between the lines. It could be said that every word was precious, but that weird feeling also came with it. It was very strange, but there was clearly only one word. Yu Buchuan is not mentioned, but he is mentioned in every word. Even Ning Zhongzi couldn't help but look back at her husband. Lao Yu coughed again and subconsciously wanted to serve tea, only to realize that he was still in a dark room. Ning Zhong couldn't help but smile and continue to look down until he saw the last sentence. Don't be shy about fame, don't feel guilty for profit, this is a true gentleman. That after reciting it softly, she could already understand why Lao Yu had lost his composure just now. Lao Yu was right. This was the advice given to him by his senior. That senior really saw things thoroughly. As a pillow person, no one in the world knows her husband better than she does. His past words and deeds can deceive others, but they cannot be hidden from her. The reason why she has always supported him unconditionally is because she understands Lao Yu and understands why he became what he is today. Fortunately, it's not too late. The appearance of this book Harem sword has solved the dilemma of Huashan sect not having high-end martial arts. This was Lao Yu's heartache, and it also gave Lao Yu a targeted way to find his original intention. Ning Zhong looked at her husband affectionately and said softly, "Brother, I want to know what you are thinking at this moment." Lao Yu was also very direct. He said, "Junior sister, wait a moment." Then he walked out of the secret room and returned in less than a cup of tea. He had a copper basin and a book in his hand. Ning Zhongza couldn't help but stood up and looked at the booklet. "Senior brother, this is. As you can see, junior sister, the evil sword manual that my brother took from you Shanghai with, the means of banditry, was injured when he was in Fuzhou City. It was also caused by it. I'm sorry, junior sister, I lied to you." Although Lao Yu's words were a little stuttered, he still spoke frankly. Then without saying a word, he took out the fire folder and burned it completely in front of Ning Zhongza. Looking at the fire in the copper basin, Lao Yu slowly let out a long breath, feeling that his state of mind became a little clearer at this moment. Ning Zhong watched everything and said nothing, but came over and took the initiative to hold her husband's hand. Lao Yu held it tightly with his backhand. At this moment, he looked like a true gentleman, not to mention Lao Yu's smooth confession. In Sequoia Mountain Cave, Lu Yuan and his wife arrived again. "Senior Feng, this junior has come to ask for advice again. I promise that it is just a simple martial arts discussion. Please show up to see me." The sound echoed in the cave, and there was no response for a long time. Just like last time, Lu Yuan didn't want to waste too much words, so he directly changed his approach. "Senior Feng, are you sorry? Someone from the Songhan sect took advantage of the chaos to harm your Huashan disciples, and I stopped them. Someone tried to steal your Huashan Zixia secret book, and I interrupted it. I even left a copy for you from the Huashan sect. A brand new swordsmanship that surpasses Dugan 9 swords. Can't you please meet me?" After a series of moral kidnappings, the old man was finally forced out. The secret book that surpasses Dugan 9 swords. The other party was wearing a green shirt, with a white beard and long eyebrows, a face as golden as paper, and stunning eyes. His appearance alone almost satisfied all Lu Yuan's fantasies about a reclusive master, but he was questioned as soon as he appeared. "Senior Feng is a junior." Lu Yuan held up his hands and showed respect to the other party, and Lu Hua next to him did the same. "Don't call me Lao Deng anymore." Lu Yuan was not embarrassed and said with a smile, normally provoking a general cannot disturb the senior's mind. "Are you here to compete with me? I think the term sparring is more accurate, and I also want to see the sword god in action." "Oh, you know so much, and you sneaked into Huashan Mountain and said you were looking for me to learn from each other, but you didn't show your true face or name, and you kept your mouth shut and pretended to be serious. I don't like you." After hearing this, Lu Yuan's smile faded. He drew out a very ordinary long sword, and said directly, "That's right, stop talking nonsense, Lao Deng, let me break your 9 swords of Dugu." Feng Qingyang sneered when he heard this, and also drew his sword. "Just use the sword technique you mentioned before." After finishing speaking, the two sword lights instantly met in the center of the cave. Chapter 42, Discussion. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The expected collision did not occur. When they were about to make contact, Lu Yuan and Feng Qingyang changed their moves at the same time. Lu Yuan's expression did not change, but the old man's eyebrows slightly raised. Although the sword strike just now was extremely subtle, he had already seen through it. It was clear that he had the upper hand, but he seemed to see a Confucian scholar reciting, "I am willing to lower my sword from my waist to kill Lulan." With a majestic tone. The general trend is moving forward, pressing on him, but in an instant, he had a hunch that if he didn't avoid it, he would definitely lose. The old man decisively chose to change his moves, but for some reason the other party also changed at the same time. The two of them used their second move at the same time. Search TWKAN on Google. Seeing Lu Yuan's move, Feng Qingyang's eyes flashed with admiration. It was such a beautiful move. He almost instinctively faced the enemy with a sword-breaking force, but the next moment, the Confucian scholar who was in a trance appeared again, chanting, "There will be times when the wind and waves break, and the clouds and sails will sail directly to the sea. The lofty ideals are like the raging waves of the river and the sea. No matter what risks are ahead, we will keep moving forward. The same feeling appeared again, and Feng Qingyang's expression became truly solemn. He was very sure that there were no strange phenomena around him. What he saw twice just now was all from his imagination, but he could not control this kind of fantasy, and the two completely different pressures were not false. What's going on? Feng Qingyang didn't believe in evil, so the two of them changed 12 moves one after another. Uncontrollable fantasies and different pressures are constantly suppressed with exquisite sword moves. I am born with talents that will be useful, and I will come back after all the money I have spent. The beacon light shines on Shijing, and I feel uneasy in my heart. Yezhang bids farewell to Fengke, and the iron cavalry circles the dragon city. The road is long, and I will search up and down. After 12 moves, Lu Yuan pulled away and retreated. Feng Qingyang gasped, raised his sword and asked, "Why aren't you here?" Lu Yuan smiled and said, "No, there are 12 ways in this swordsmanship. What I just showed you is the most essential one. Let me ask you, if the sword move really falls, can the Duga 9 swords block it? It hasn't fallen yet, how do you know you can't stop it?" The old man said sternly. Lu Yuan shook his head directly, "You can't stop me." That the words were so certain that the old man was so angry that he blew his beard. "I don't believe it, I won't say anything until I touch it." Lu Yuan shook his head again. "My sword has sword intention, but your sword currently only has sword moves, so you can't stop it." In fact, the sword intent that Lu Yuan used just now was all forced upon him by relying on his understanding. Unlike the Harem sword intent that he had truly honed, he had not yet found his own sword intent. Doing this is just to show Feng Qingyang where the sword's intention lies. Sure enough, the old man grasped the key point and murmured, "Sword intent, there really is sword intent, it's like this." Lu Yuan continued, "This sword technique is called Harem sword. There are 12 moves, among which the cultivation of sword intention is the most critical." At that moment, Lu Yuan explained the core of this secret book again. The old man's eyes flashed with hope and expectation, and a new door had been opened towards him. Looking at Lu Yuan again, he was a little puzzled. "You just told me such a secret book of swordsmanship. This actually implies, what do you want?" Lu Yuan laughed, "That's what I said. It's not worth mentioning. I just want to see if Senior Feng can you go one step further. You studied under the Huashan sect. No wonder the old man asked this. Both Yu Buchuan and Ning Zhongzi could see the roots of Harem sword, and he naturally understood it too. No, I have nothing to do with the Huashan sect. It doesn't matter if I tell my seniors the truth. The book Harem sword was originally created after studying the classics of your sect, so I will use it as a reading fee." The old man was stunned after hearing this. You created it?" Lu Yuan did not answer these words, but raised his long sword. "I was unable to defeat you with my sword intent just now. Come on, let's compete purely with sword moves this time." "Fart, when did you win?" Feng Qingyang was instantly furious. "This time I will directly use my sword moves to defeat your Duga 9 swords and make you convinced." "Again? Where did you come from? You didn't beat me just now." The old man refused. "Stop talking nonsense. Lao Deng, are you coming?" "It's your mother's fault, boy, watch your moves." The two approached each other again and started fighting. Lu Huar, who was watching this scene from the side, felt that her filter for masters today was shattered. No, she must write this scene in her diary that night. Let's talk about the discussion on the field. This time, Lu Yuan really used sword moves to fight Feng Qingyang. Once he used the extremely simple and refined sword way moves, the old man seemed to have turned into a greedy old cat. Such exquisite sword skills made him even more powerful. Sour and refreshing, he entered the state almost instantly. Whenever Lu Yuan found a flaw, he would change his tactics, and Feng Qingyang would follow suit and change his response. At the same time, one word would pop out of his mouth: wonderful. The sword rays created strong winds in the cave, and the two fought faster and faster, but they never collided. As time passed, the only sound left in the cave was the sound of the sword cutting through the air and the old man's cheers. Brush. 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 Wonderful. 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 Brush. 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 Wonderful. 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 At the edge of the field, Lu Huar was looking at it seriously at first, until the magical voice continued to circulate in her ears. Her expression gradually became a little tense, her shoulders shrugged, and she suppressed a smile. She really couldn't understand that swordsman sparring was supposed to be a thing. It's such a serious matter, why did it become like this? The two people who were seriously engaged in the field had no intention of paying attention to such trivial matters. Lu Yuan found that if traditional sword moves wanted to break the Duga 9 swords, the only way to do it was to compete with reflexes. He was confident that he could defeat Feng Qingyao, but that was just defeating Feng Qingyao, not Duga 9 swords. Thinking of this, Lu Yuan's moves suddenly became weird. What was originally a standard diagonal move suddenly turned into a horizontal slash. After taking action, Feng Qingyang's originally confident interception was completely missed. The opponent's sword changed unexpectedly, which really shocked him. He hurriedly took a step back, then changed his moves and broke again. Lu Yuan's next strange moves appeared frequently. His muscle movement seemed to be to the left, but the long sword stabbed to the right. It was obviously an upward move, but the sword curled up in the middle and slid downwards. Feng Qingyang gradually began to sweat. He was so confused by this strange move that did not follow common sense. He couldn't understand how it could be done like this. He didn't realize the problem until he stared at Lu Yuan's sword for a while. Lu Yuan's right hand held the sword in an extremely loose manner, giving the impression that the sword would fall off if he flicked it lightly. But it was precisely because he held the sword in this way that he could accomplish the change in a tricky manner every time. Stop! Feng Qingyang took the initiative to retreat. It's just a joke for you to hold the sword like this. Although you can avoid my breaking moves, what's the lethality of it? Really? Lu Yuan chuckled and came to one side of the cave wall with his sword. Then take a look. After saying that, Lu Yuan let go of the hilt of the sword, but the long sword did not fall. It seemed that there was a force that stuck the hilt to his hand. The strange sword move appeared again, and it was clear that he was pointing upwards. He raised his hand, but the tip of the sword instead thrust downwards. He originally shook his wrist to the right, but the sword edge slid to the left again. This continued for a while, and an elegant and immortal old man was gradually carved on the wall. It was Feng Qingyang. However, Feng Qingyang's expression at this moment was not good at all, because Duga 9 swords was broken. Chapter 43. See you next time. You are listening at novelfull.audio. No way, the majestic sword god can still be so naive. Lu Yuan exaggeratedly shouted. Boy, why are you so angry? Lu Yuan instantly regained his nonchalance. It's not that I'm having trouble, but I'm afraid that you, an old man, will hit a dead end. You are a swordsman. Once your moves are broken, you will come up with new ones. Could it be that you still naively think that there are people in this world? A sword move that can't be broken? And it's not good to always pick on people's wisdom, isn't it? Are you lecturing me? Feng Qingyang laughed angrily. That's right, I'm just teaching you a lesson. Lu Yuan stabbed the opponent's lungs and threw the sheathed sword backhand to Lu Huar in the distance. He raised his palm and said, Come on, Lao Deng, I'll break you again with my bare hands. Duga 9 swords. Ha 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 ha. Feng Qingyang's eyes were red, he looked up to the sky and laughed. He didn't say any more this time, and went straight to Lu Yuan with a cold sword. Anyone can see the momentum, the old man is getting angry. Lu Yuan was not polite. In a moment, his figure had already swayed to Feng Qingyang's side. Such fast qigong movements reminded old man Feng of another person. He responded extremely quickly and could easily connect the moves with each other. He could truly combine man and sword. 1. There is no fear of surprise attacks. Even if Lu Yuan slapped him with his palm, the silver-white sword blade was already pointing directly at Lu Yuan's wrist. If he took another step forward, he would hit him. Lu Yuan took advantage of the situation and turned his palms into claws, and the sharp internal force attached to his fingers, grabbing the sword edge. At the moment of contact, the long sword suddenly began to rotate, shattering the internal force and threatening to break open the palm. The internal force in Lu Yuan's palm changed immediately, and Feng Qingyang felt as if the long sword in his hand was stuck in the mud. Then a strong force suddenly came from the sword, and his body also swayed forward. At this moment, a fist had already hit him in the face. The old man simply stopped resisting the pull of the long sword and followed the force, turning sideways and spinning forward. While avoiding the fist, he raised the long sword, which not only slashed towards Lu Yuan, but also prevented the opponent from continuing to attack. After a brief exchange, the two of them changed several attack methods one after another. Seeing that Lao Deng was still keeping up, Lu Yuan controlled only a small amount of internal energy and gradually began to try various attacks. The mature moves in the martial arts code were constantly used. Lu Yuan became more and more comfortable as he fought, and the moves became smoother and smoother. As expected, true knowledge comes from practice. No matter how many times you simulate it in your mind, it will never be as rewarding as having a good fight. He has now begun to no longer stick to fixed moves. He can change his fists, palms, claws, feet, shoulders, and elbows as he pleases. Anyway, Old Man Feng's Dugu 9 swords is the best at defeating this. No matter how he changes, the opponent can deal with it, and he can use it to practice. Techniques. This time, the fight lasted for most of the day. I fought from mid-morning until evening. No fight. No fight. Feng Qingyang couldn't hold on any longer, flew back, and sat down on the big rock without any image and began to breathe. You kid, you want to tire me to death. Lu Yuan didn't say a word, but quietly closed his eyes. It took a while before he opened his eyes again, his eyes bright. This time I came to Feng Qingyang for discussion, and it turned out that I came to the right place. Although the version of the technique has not been improved, the actual combat ability has more than doubled compared to before. It seems that it will be necessary to discuss with experts in the future. At the same time, he also discovered that he has a shortcoming that is not a shortcoming, and that is that he has no characteristics. He knows everything and is good at everything, so he does not have the most commonly used and unique method. It's not his fault. What he has been pursuing from the beginning is nurturing immortality, but he has not yet found a particular preference for attack methods. We can think about this again in the future. Thinking in his mind, when he saw Lu Hua and Feng Qingyang eating barbecue not far away, he also walked over. Old Man Feng just looked up at the other party and ignored him. Lu Yuan sat down carelessly, took the rabbit leg from Lu Hua, and said with a smile, "We will leave after dinner, Lao Deng. I have already told you the way to condense sword intent, but don't let me down. I'm really looking forward to seeing what path you can take in the end." Hearing this, Feng Qingyang was furious again. "Boy, you are the younger generation. Don't talk to me in that tone. Hey, you still care about this? Besides, I'm telling the truth." Lu Yuan ate the rabbit leg in the firelight with a smile on his lips. "There are too few pure swordsmen like you in this world. Senior Feng, you too don't want to miss the more beautiful scenery on the sword road?" Hearing this, Feng Qingyang suddenly put away his anger and seemed to be as elegant and fairy-like as before. "Boys, who are you? What do you mean by doing this? I just asked this girl, and she just smiled at me. If you haven't spoken, it's hard not to be suspicious of you. There are not so many purposes. It's just random. Besides, when traveling in the world, you have to keep some mystery. But since it's Senior Feng you're asking, it doesn't matter. Both of us have the last name Lu. That's it. What happens next?" Feng Qingyang was still waiting, but the result was gone. Lu Yuan laughed loudly. "I told you to keep it a little secret, so I'll wait until the next time we meet to talk about this name." After saying that, Lu Yuan stood up after eating, and Lu Hua also stood up. "When will we meet next? Or will you come to me to learn swordsmanship?" "Yes, I still come to you to learn swordsmanship. As for the time." Lu Yuan thought for a while, then suddenly pulled out his long sword and came to the side of the stone wall. Swish, brush, brush. The stone fragments rustled down, leaving behind a piece of inner strength and mental method. Looking at the name Purple Energy Health Kung Fu on it, Feng Qingyang's mouth twitched. did you get this from peeking at Purple Cloud Magic Kung Fu? As I said, I'm just borrowing it. Remember to replace your inner strength with this. The health-preserving effect is much better than Zixia. It will allow you to live for another 20 years. It won't be a problem. Say it, he took Lu Hua and walked outside. Wait a moment, Feng Qingyang suddenly made a sound. When Lu Yuan turned around, he saw Old Man Feng picking up a piece of wooden stick on the ground and starting to dance the sword in the field while reciting the secret formula. Returning to younger sisters leads to Wu Wu leads to the same person, and the same person leads to greatness. A turns to C, B turns to Gung turns to Gui, the acquaintance of Z and Cho, the acquaintance of Chen and C. Half an hour later, Feng Qingyang put away her sword and stood up, looking at Lu Yuan without saying anything. Lu Yuan closed his eyes for a moment, and when he opened them again, he used his hands as sword fingers and stabbed forward. In an instant, there seemed to be a shadow of a sword flashing by. In a daze, Feng Qingyang saw several familiar changes such as the broken sword style, broken knife style, and broken gun style. Fuck you. Feng Qingyang screamed vulgarly, get out. Get out. I don't want to see you again. Lu Yuan grinned, let's go, Lao Deng, I look forward to seeing you next time. Go, go, go. Ha 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 ha. The laughter gradually disappeared outside the cave. In the empty cave, only the crackling sound of the campfire and the old man standing there were left. Today's brief meeting allowed the old man to regain the joy and enthusiasm he had lost for a long time. Now that the scene has come to an end, he is left alone. After a long time, the old man sighed softly and returned to the fire. He picked up the uneaten barbecue and continued to chew it. At the same time, he muttered, fuck, where did this monster come from? The descent of Lu Yuan and Lu Hua did not affect the story on the mountain. After chatting on the bed in the middle of the night, Lao Yu and his wife finally locked the senior who didn't want to show up on the Sigua cliff in Huashan Mountain. This can also explain the origin of Ling Hu Chong's superb swordsmanship, so the next day, Lao Yu and his wife went to Ling Hu Chong and had a conversation. After revealing that they had also been prompted by their seniors, they came up with a name, Feng Qingyang. It turns out to be Uncle Feng. Although Ling Hu Chong repeatedly emphasized that Old Man Feng didn't like to be disturbed, the couple decided to go to the cliff to pay a visit and express their gratitude after some discussion. At least they couldn't lose their courtesy. So, the two of them took some drinks, clothes, and other daily necessities and called for a long time in the open space of Sigua Cliff, but no one was there. Lao Yu simply knelt down and worshipped sincerely, and explained his past mistakes to prove his intention to change. He also said that he would devote himself to cultivating the Harem sword, strengthen Huashan, and never forget the kindness of his uncle. At this time, Feng Qingyang couldn't sit still. He had no shame in taking advantage of that kid. A T-zone came to the two of them. Before Lao Yu and his wife could be happy, he had already pulled Yubuchuan up and corrected him. First of all, I didn't give you the Harem sword, but you just practice it. As for who that person is, don't ask. Secondly, if you can change it, it's pretty good, so I'll accept it. Finally, don't do it again next time. The old man spoke as if he were laying a hidden weapon. After finishing speaking, he wrapped up the items on the ground and floated away. Only Lao Yu and his wife were left standing there in confusion. Chapter 44 New Rumors. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It has been 2 days since I saw Feng Qingyang on Sigua Cliff that day. In a pavilion, Lao Yu is reading the Analects of Confucius carefully, taking a sip of fragrant tea from time to time and looking very comfortable. At this moment, the distant mountain breeze came, like waking up a focused scholar. Lao Yu stood up and stretched his muscles. Taking advantage of the aftertaste that he had just read, he played Harem sword all the way. Then he nodded with satisfaction and drank the remaining tea in the cup. Putting down the tea cup, he raised his eyes to look at the distant mountains, and couldn't help but start thinking about the person who left the sword manual. He spent a lot of time thinking about it during the past 2 days. When I think of Hengshan City, my martial arts suddenly increased a lot. Looking at the Fuwei escort agency who simply sent out the evil sword manual, he remembered the news that came later. After the lawsuit in Fuzhou City was settled, the Lin family was attacked again that night. However, all 4 masters were blocked by Lin Zhennan alone. That night someone heard Lin Zhennan scolding Yu Canghai, but the next day the Lin family released news that a traitor had emerged from the Qingqing sect. There was obviously something fishy going on, but everyone who saw the news at the time had the same judgment in their hearts, that is Lin Zhennan has been practicing evil sword manual, but looking back at this news now, it's worth pondering, and there was something that only his old Yu knew. That was, on the night when the Lin family and the Fuzhou magistrate were discussing their marriage, 2 masters were nearby and made a joke with him. Yes, it was a joke. Lao Yu only realized later in retrospect that the other party definitely recognized him at that time, and then deliberately let him go. Now that something similar has happened to his Huashan sect, the identity of the person who left the secret book is most likely that person, or those 2 people. I just don't know why they did this. Brother, but while he was thinking about it, Ning Zhong came quickly with a sword in hand. Junior sister. Didn't you take that traitor down the mountain to see a doctor? Hearing this, Ning Zhong rolled his eyes at her husband and said, if you are willing to directly teach him the Zixia magic skill, why should I take Chong'er down the mountain again? After hearing this, Lao Yu shook his head and said seriously, Junior sister, we have discussed this matter a long time ago. He can pass it on, but not now. He must be taught a profound lesson, otherwise it will be difficult to distinguish between right and wrong, and he is addicted to drinking and drinking. With his temper, how can I trust the Huashan sect to him? Okay. I know what you're thinking, let's get back to business. Ning Zhong's expression turned serious and he handed over a piece of paper filled with news. We just came down the mountain and heard this rumor. I didn't dare to delay ask around, this is the most widely circulated version, please take a look, senior brother. Lao Yu poured a cup of tea for his wife, and then took the paper. He only saw half of it, and his chi-nourishing skills were directly broken, and he stood up in disbelief. The content on the paper is simply a supplementary version of the last news about the shortcomings of the Evil Sword Manual. It explained the origin of the Evil Sword Manual in great detail, and also involved the reasons for the decline of his Huashan sect. Decades ago, Huashan was as powerful as Shaolin and Wudang. At that time, Huashan sent 2 seniors, Yu Su and Kai Zifan, to visit the Shaolin temple in Putian. By chance, they learned about the Sunflower Collection, and by coincidence, they came to Shaolin Temple in Putian. Its contents were seen in the temple. The 2 of them were uncontrollably greedy. Since time was short, they decided to divide the work and each recited half of the book. Everything went smoothly at first, but after they left Shaolin and returned to Huashan, the 2 of them got in touch with each other. Strangely, the contents they recited couldn't match each other. They both believed that what they memorized was correct, and this led to disagreements. Over time, this difference gradually expanded, and 2 major factions, the Qi sect and the Sword sect, were formed within the Huashan sect, paving the way for the subsequent Sword-Qi struggle. During this period, Zen Master Hongye of Putian Shaolin knew about this matter somehow, so he sent his disciple Zen Master Du Yuan to question them and warn them not to practice the martial arts in the book. As a result, when the Zen Master Du Yuan came, he not only did not persuade me, but took the opportunity of his guidance to secretly write down the contents of the scripture. After leaving Huashan, the Zen Master Du Yuan returned to secular life. Soon after, Lin Yuantu appeared in the world. With the 72 evil sword techniques, he was invincible in both black and white. At the same time, news of the Sunflower Book in Huashan was also leaked, which led to the demon cult attacking Huashan and taking away the Sunflower Book. After that, the long-standing feud between the swordsmen broke out. On the Jade Girl Peak, the 2 sects fought fiercely. After this battle, the Huashan sect was completely in decline. Not to mention comparable to Shaolin and Wudang, even among the 5 mountains, they fell to the bottom. After reading everything, Lao Yu's eyes turned red and his chest heaved violently. It's so, Shaolin. Putian Shaolin. Senior brother. Ning Zhongza stepped forward and held Lao Yu's hand. This is just a rumor in the world, and it is not completely credible. Lao Yu laughed sadly. Junior sister, our sect also has some records of what happened back then. Now we can compare it with each other and judge whether it is true or not. The Huashan sect was so prosperous back then, but the result seems to have suddenly changed overnight. However, at that time, I and other juniors had no idea what was going on and thought it was some kind of accident. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be a well-planned conspiracy. Hahaha, now I just hate for those seniors back then, I hate for the master. Mentioning her father Ning Zhongzi also made her nose sore, but she still consoled her. It has happened, and so many years have passed. Senior brother, don't be impulsive. Impulsive? No, of course I won't be impulsive. Lao Yu's eyes regained their firmness. There are still many days to come, and after this news comes out, the biggest impact is not our Huashan sect. As Lao Yu said, once this news came out, all the big and small sects in the martial arts world changed their views on Shaolin after hearing it, and the spread of this explosive news is faster than any light skill. The news was released by Lu Yuan and the others near Laojun Mountain, but by the time they came to Nanyang, it had almost spread. Throughout the martial arts world, you can hear people discussing this matter in any tea house or inn. Some people don't believe it, thinking that this is intentionally throwing dirty water on Shaolin. Some people sneered, thinking that this is the norm in the martial arts world. Don't think of any sect as too great and glorious. Some people even wondered why everyone was talking about Shaolin. What does it have to do with them? And they kindly sent disciples to warn them. Often when similar remarks like the latter appear, people around will immediately cast contemptuous eyes. Where did this fool come from? If you don't have a brain, don't go to the martial arts world. Do you really think everyone is Guojing? Lu Yuan was very satisfied to hear similar discussions along the way. When he spread the news, he deliberately increased the number of coincidences. Combined with the previous rumor, people knew the origin of the Sunflower Manual, and you, the southernmost Shaolin temple, how did you suddenly have something from the palace? How was it so coincidental that someone from Huashan saw it? How was the subsequent news leaked? And so on. These are simply unclear, and conspiracy theories are often the most topical. As for whether Shaolin and Wudang in this world are good or evil, and whether they really promoted these secretly, what does it have to do with him, Lu Yuan? Everyone just needs to know that the court has taken action against the martial arts world. That's enough. Chapter 45. You still say you haven't cultivated immortality. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Just when Shaolin's reputation was bad and it tried to clarify, Ling Hu Chong also followed the inertia of the original plot and went down the mountain to continue his adventure of seeking medical treatment. A peach blossom was already at the foot of the mountain, waiting for him to pick it, and the knock and warning that Lao Yu expected were destined to turn into disappointment. Westlake in Hangzhou, this is a place that people can't help but praise whenever it is mentioned. She is like a bright pearl inlaid in the heart of the Jiangnan water town, lying quietly in the embrace of mountains. With its unique charm of rivers and lakes, it has attracted countless literati and poets to stop and linger for thousands of years. This is the spiritual habitat of literati and scholars, and she is like a gentle and independent beauty, leaning against the Leifeng pagoda, echoing the broken bridge and the snow, as if telling a series of lingering stories, and witnessing the style of a group of star-like bright figures such as Bai Jui, Su Dongpa, and Ouyang Xiu. When the autumn breeze gently blows over the West Lake in October, it adds a bit of maturity and depth to her. At this moment, Lu Yuan and his partner are riding a small boat on the West Lake, experiencing the artistic conception of the boat is sailing on the blue waves, and people are swimming in the painting. The Leifeng pagoda in the distance is more ancient and solemn in the afterglow of the setting sun, and although the lotus flowers nearby have withered, the lotus leaves are still tall and straight, as if telling the prosperity of summer and the tranquility of autumn. Huar, if we settle down in the future, will we be near here? Lu Yuan put his hands behind his head and lay on the boat looking at the sky. After waiting for a long time, there was no response. Huar. Lu Yuan crossed his legs and touched the other party. What are you doing? I'm sleeping. Lu Huar blushed and didn't want to open her eyes. Just say it, okay? Oh, you're so annoying, just make the decision. Oh, ha ha ha. Looking at the little girl next to him being shy, he couldn't help but laughed out loud, the kind that could be heard half a mile away. Lu Huar was so embarrassed that she kept bumping him with her arms. Oh, you're still laughing, we've been waiting for many days. Is the protagonist you mentioned coming yet? If not, we might as well go in and get it ourselves. Lu Huar changed the subject unhappily. It's so boring to get it by ourselves, and it will probably attract those dogs again, but you're right, let's wait for 2 more days, and if he doesn't come, we'll go and see it ourselves. As he said that, Lu Yuan sat up, the sunset in the distance was like fire, and the garden house with the words Mei Zhuang hanging on the distant shore was looming. After all, the matter of going to get it by himself was not accomplished, because the next day, Ling Huchong and a bearded man appeared at the door of Mei Zhuang. Lu Yuan, who had noticed this scene a long time ago, took Lu Huar to wait nearby. This wait lasted for half a day, until a loud roar was heard. The bearded man took another old man and quickly climbed over the wall and left. Let's go, it's our turn to pick up the spoils. Lu Yuan and the other man flew into the courtyard and noticed the servants who were either dead or unconscious around them. He threw a few stones at random to make the unconscious people sleep more soundly. The 2 of them continued to go deeper. They didn't need to search too much. They just followed the mess left on the ground and came to an underground prison. At this time, the 4 masters of Mei Zhuang were unconscious on the ground. There were signs of bleeding in their mouths and noses, which were symptoms of being forcibly injured by internal energy. Lu Yuan gave each of the 4 people a shot as usual, then he flew to the central iron prison. At this moment, Ling Huchong was lying unconscious inside, and he was still snoring. He also rewarded the other party with a stone. Lu Yuan took out a small tool he carried with him, easily poked open the lock of the iron prison, and entered the interior. He moved Ling Huchong aside, waved his sleeves, fanned away the dead branches and dust, and revealed the fine words on the surface of the iron cage. Star-absorbing technique. Quickly wrote down the content, then relocked it and returned the same way. On the way, Lu Yuan went to the room of the 4 friends of Mei Zhuang. He found Huang Zhonggong's 7-string invisible sword, He Baizi's mysterious ice power, Tu Biweng's judge's acupuncture method, and Dan Qingsheng's splashing ink and hemp sword method. After doing this, Lu Yuan took Lu Huar back to the boat. He didn't think about leaving a new inheritance for everyone, because, except Ling Huchong, these people would not live long, so there was no need to invest again, and Ling Huchong, he had his own opportunity, so he didn't need to worry about it. After getting on the boat, Lu Huar lit a small stove for boiling tea, and went to watch it with the storybook in her arms. Lu Yuan sat at the bow and began to sort out what he had just obtained, especially the star-absorbing art. He knew that this skill was derived from the northern divine art hundreds of years ago. Even if it was only a fragment, he could get a glimpse of the style of the divine art back then. Through careful study, he quickly mastered the star-absorbing art. This skill transforms the human dantian to have a suction force similar to that of a black hole, forcibly plundering the internal force of others. Practitioners must keep the dantian always like an empty box, always like a deep valley for a long time. To be honest, when Lu Yuan first saw it, he felt that it was not scientific. Even if you empty the dantian, how much pressure difference do you have to create to form such a terrifying suction force? But later, putting aside the scientific concept, it was found that this was not simply the suction force created by the internal and external pressure difference. The hollow dantian, after special transformation, has extremely strong suction force itself, and the acupoints of both hands are the interface connecting the suction force. As for the transformation method, it is the real core of this skill. It turned out that through 2 sets of exercise diagrams, the qi was pumped at the same time, and the 2 opposing internal forces of yin and yang were generated according to a specific ritual, and then the cathode leads the anode to rotate and become an anchor point, which fell inside the dantian, and then always kept the cavity. The internal force absorbed in the future, after entering the dantian to expand the size, must be dispersed into the meridians, and cannot be stored in the dantian for a long time, and every time the dantian is expanded, the anchor point formed by the yin and yang internal force must be remade. This method of generating suction by rotating the yin and yang poles has a typical Taoist flavor, which further proves that it comes from Baiming divine art. It's a pity that Baiming uses the middle dantian, and can be fearless of mixed internal forces, all refined into one furnace, and I don't know how many times stronger it is. Lu Yuan stopped comprehending and raised his palm. The original Changxing Gong internal force began to evolve yin and yang under his control. Coincidentally, the first stage of Changxing Gong controls the changes of one's own yin and yang and 5 elements. which also includes the transformation of internal force. Lu Yuan is still unable to instantly transform yin and yang with the internal force in the dantian, but he can still do it by controlling the internal force in his hand. The differentiated yin and yang internal forces began to instinctively follow the changes of yin and yang coexisting and hiding each other. At this time, Lu Yuan intentionally controlled it to start rotating in a specific way. At the same time, Lu Yuan's palms were facing outward, and a faint suction force appeared, but the suction force was too weak, and it was not as good as his normal pulling with internal force. With a thought in his mind, Lu Yuan's forearm meridian simulated the cavity effect, and the rotation of yin and yang suddenly accelerated. In an instant, a huge suction force disturbed the water surface in front, and large pieces of water droplets gathered towards his palms. He controlled the suction force and wrapped it with internal force at the same time. In the blink of an eye, a water ball as big as a watermelon was formed. Plop. The sound of the storybook falling to the bottom of the boat came from behind. Oh my God! Lu Yuan, you still say you don't practice immortality? Chapter 46 Shaolin Wind Rises. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Lu Yuan casually dispersed the water ball. What kind of fairy is this? It's just a trick to absorb water. When you learn the internal force yin and yang transformation, you can play it yourself. When Lu Hua heard this, she said oh and lost interest instantly. She silently picked up the storybook at her feet and skillfully turned back to the page just now. I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network. Lu Yuan, who was already used to it, continued his previous thoughts. After understanding the reason for the birth of suction, Lu Yuan could imitate Biming divine art to deduce similar skills, and like Biming, any acupoints in the body can generate suction, but it is not necessary for daily assistance. The suction force similar to dragon catching skill just now is enough. What he is thinking about now is the skill of Biming divine art that can generate suction in all the acupoints in the body. Is it really just the enemy's internal force that is absorbed? Lu Yuan clearly remembered that there was a hint in the original work of Tianlong that Zaya learned a magical skill in an unknown valley in Dali and wanted to pass it on to his disciples, but they couldn't learn it and could only split it into Biming divine skill, Shao Wuxiang skill and eternal spring skill. Lu Yuan boldly guessed that the thing absorbed was probably not the internal skills of others, but other free energies between heaven and earth. Maybe it was something like spiritual power or purple air, but the problem is, ordinary human bodies can't hold it. Could it be that Zaya body had evolved at that time? Where did Zaya go later? These ideas are somewhat far-fetched. Lu Yuan knows that if he continues to practice step by step, he will know sooner or later. Retracting his thoughts, he began to study the skills of the four friends of Meizhuang. The big meal has been eaten, and desserts can also be enjoyable. After the study, Lu Yuan only had 8 words in his mind: good ideas, fancy. The former refers to ideas, and the latter refers to action. Among them, only 7-string invisible sword and splashing ink and sackcloth sword technique are of value. The remaining 2 are one for internal force to freeze ice and one for acupuncture points, which are really trivial. 7-string invisible sword is the first sound wave skill that Lu Yuan has obtained. There is a sword in the name, but it has nothing to do with swords. It cannot burst out sword energy like Dragon 8 sounds in the film and television. It simply infuses internal force into the piano sound to disturb the enemy's mind. Those who hear it will gradually be affected by the piano sound and be controlled unconsciously. Compared with the sound wave sword energy, this power is undoubtedly inferior. One is physical damage, and the other is more mental control. After research, Lu Yuan figured out the essence. 7-string invisible sword can be understood as a kind of hypnotic skill, and the addition of internal force is used to shake the mind and assist the piano sound effect. Huang Zhonggong is also a talent. He combined the Book of Rites and the Confucian view of joy, anger, sorrow, fear, love, hate, and desire with music. Music itself can convey emotions through tunes, and then rely on internal force to vibrate the listener's mind, which can easily arouse the listener's 7 emotions. Lu Yuan was very interested in studying and incorporated this control method into the art of confusion. His mental strength was strong enough, and he did not need to use strong internal force to shock people. and he could achieve better results. Not bad, not bad. After praising twice, he watched splashing ink and sackcloth sword technique. Forget it, there was nothing to see in the original secret book. It was just dancing with swords while painting. It could only be a purely ornamental performance for Lu Yuan. The idea he mentioned before was good, referring to this technique, because it gave Lu Yuan a new idea. Whether it is words or paintings, they represent the spiritual sustenance of human beings and their subconscious recognition. It is impossible to use words or paintings to mobilize the power of heaven and earth as in movies and TV shows, but if you use the method of honing the sword intention and borrow your own momentum, it can really have some effect. This makes Lu Yuan think of something, Taoist talismans. Unfortunately, one is to borrow the power of heaven and earth, and the other is to consume your own spirit. After just a little divergence, Lu Yuan stopped thinking. He knew very well that this idea was feasible, but it was not very meaningful for him now, or for the current martial arts world, and you can't take shortcuts like Harem's sword, as the saying goes. It's better to practice a sword than to spend 30 years refining your mind. After finishing the harvest, Lu Yuan's body immediately softened. Huar, give me a cup of tea. Humph, you are getting lazier and lazier. The girl's complaint and the elegant tea fragrance came from behind. Are we leaving now? No hurry, wait a little longer. Waiting for what? Of course it's the news of the rivers and lakes, that the boat carried the two people, drifting away, gradually sinking into the lotus leaves and blue waves. The rivers and lakes will never be calm because of the lack of someone, because the flowing water cannot be stopped, and the restless heart cannot be calmed. Some people and some things may have been foreshadowed a long time ago. In early November, the news that the saint of the demon sect was trapped in Shaolin because of love seemed to spread like crazy overnight. Ling Huchong, who finally came out from the bottom of the West Lake, was a little panicked after knowing this, but he was confused and surrounded by a group of people from all walks of life, and they wanted to go to Xuanhuan Shaolin to rescue the saint. Maybe it was to save his lover. Or maybe he didn't want to see the two sides really fight. Ling Huchong accepted the leadership this time. The news that a large number of underworld forces will besiege Shaolin and rescue the Saint Lady also spread soon after. The 5 mountain sword sects then set off for Shaolin. Another big plot in the smiling proud wanderer is about to unfold, and the news that Lu Yuan and the others have been waiting for has naturally come. Songzhan sect. In the meeting hall, Zhuolengchan, who is slightly fat, is tapping his fingers on the table, lost in thought. A map of the Jianghu is spread on the table, on which the locations of the major sects are marked, and on one side of the map are 5 or 6 pieces of paper with handwriting. Zhuolengchan's eyes swept over the pieces of paper one by one. Hengshan Mo Da's power has become stronger. Lin Jinan of Fuwei escort agency did not show the appearance of a eunuch. The first rumor about exorcism appeared in Chengdu prefecture. Yu Canghai is in seclusion. The second rumor appeared in Nanyang. Huashan Yubuchuan temporarily closed the mountain, and Lao Dinua lost news. Fuzhou, Hengshan, Qingqing, Huashan. Zhuolengchan muttered to himself, picked up the brush in his hand, and drew a circle at the location of Shaolin on the map. Now, are we here? Putting down the brush, Zhuolengchan looked dim, as if he had made a decision. Lu Bai, who had been watching from the side, knew what Zhuolengchan was talking about. Unlike Ding Mian, who was a tower-holding hand, he was one of the few people who could keep up with Zhuolengchan's thinking. Brother, are you saying that person will come this time? Very likely. Then the plan remains the same, no need to do anything extra. Zhuolengchan knew what the other party wanted to say and interrupted him directly. Yes. Lu Bai followed the order and arranged. Zhuolengchan still sat in the same place, only he knew that in the circle he had just drawn, in addition to Shaolin, there was also his Songzhan sect. With the arrival of the siege day, the 5 mountain sword sects also arrived at Songzhan Shaolin one after another. In the reception room, the heads of the 5 mountains, Qingqing, Beggar's sect and other sects gathered together. This was a plan to discuss how to deal with the enemy's attack on the mountain. However, before the meeting officially started, the atmosphere in the field had already become a little strange. There is no other reason. The leaders of Hengshan, Huashan, and Qingqing sects have changed a lot after not seeing each other for a few months. First is Hengshan sect's Emoda. He used to dress very sloppily, and his hair and beard were not well groomed. When meeting and discussing matters, he always sat there holding his arrow and didn't speak. Now he is wearing a plain long gown and a white robe. Although it is not luxurious, it is very meticulous and neat. His hair is tied up, his beard is smooth, and even his arrow is painted with new paint. The whole person sits there, and the demeanor of the head of a sect cannot be ignored by anyone. The same is true for Huashan Yubuchuan next to him. He is not as sharp as Emoda, and his personal temperament is more and more elegant. The folding fan in his hand has long been replaced by the Analects of Confucius. He sits there and turns a page from time to time. If it weren't for the gentleman's sword on his waist, anyone would think he is a middle-aged Confucian scholar. Finally, of course, it was Yu Tsanghai who had changed the most. Even though he had tried his best to endure and gave up his favorite red clothes, his body was still colorful. His feminine temperament could not be concealed at all. His increasingly soft facial features, coupled with the charming corners of his eyes, always shocked the other person when he looked at them inadvertently. Many people took the initiative to avoid Yu Tsanghai, but old Yu was staring at Yubuchuan at this moment, and his eyes seemed to be a little resentful. He almost asked, "Ah Yu, did you not have the circumcision?" Chapter 47. Is it wrong to be very charming? You are listening at NovelFull.audio. The look in Yu Tsanghai's direction was naturally ignored by Lao Yu. I was reading a book and drinking tea alone in the calm sky. I had the feeling that despite the wind and rain outside the window, I remained unmoved and enjoyed the beauty of tranquility. Lao Yu acted indifferent here, but Ning Zhongzi beside him had his eyebrows raised. Are you kidding me? There have been many charming courtesans who couldn't mess with my senior brother's heart. You, a eunuch, still want to give it a try. The strange atmosphere and invisible confrontation in the field were naturally noticed by Xuanhuan, who came over. He said nothing on his face, but his heart was extremely restless. The palms in his sleeves had been clenched silently. What he saw today further proved his suspicion. Without letting anyone wait for too long, Shaolin host Fang Zheng opened his mouth to break the atmosphere. Thank you for coming all the way to help me. Shaolin has remembered this friendship. I would like to express my solemn thanks here. However, there are some things that I need to explain to you in advance. The reason for Zhou Daoxiao's siege of Shaolin is Ben came to rescue the holy girl from the demon cult. I already know about this matter, but I don't know why Master Fang Zheng mentioned it again. It was Xuanhuan who spoke. The old monk sighed. There are many things in the world that can't escape the word love. You don't know, but if we really want to talk about this, it will also involve Ling Huchong, the beloved disciple of the leader of Washanyu. As soon as these words came out, Lao Yu's hand stroking the pages of the book paused slightly, and the surrounding Huashan disciples also became energetic. Master Fang Zheng, what does this matter have to do with my senior brother? That the person who asked the question was Yu Lingshan. In this time and space, without Lin Pingji's intervention, this little girl was still very interested in Ling Huchong, especially because there was something about love involved. Seemingly seeing the old monk's embarrassment, Yu Buchuan smiled and said, "Master, don't worry. Now the heads of various sects are gathered here. It's a good idea to explain things clearly to avoid misunderstandings in the future. My disciple, he is playful by nature, and he has been down the mountain for less than a year. If he does something stupid this time, I will just use it to hit him." The old monk shook his head. It's not a big mistake. Even though I am a monk, I can understand the love between men and women in the world. I just didn't expect that the holy ant from the demon cult would be willing to go to such an extent for young hero Linghu. At that moment, the abbot told the story that Ren Yingying used 10 years of self-imprisonment in Shaolin as a bargaining chip in exchange for Shaolin using the Yi Jin Jing to cure Ling Huchong. Everyone was shocked by the infatuation of the devil sect saint, and also marveled at Shaolin's generosity. He was willing to use the inheritance of the Zhen sect to save people, which showed the big picture. For a time, there was a lot of flattery about Shaolin in the audience. After the flattery, came the questioning, especially the fact that the top disciple of the Huashan sect actually fell in love with a demon girl from the demon sect. This incident made everyone's eyes turn to the Huashan sect. Impossible. There is no way my senior brother will fall in love with some holy ant. Yu Lingshan was a little excited and was pulled back by Ning Zhongzi, who also looked at her husband with worry in his eyes. Lao Yu's face was calm and he calmly responded to the many looks. He hugged his fists and said, "You guys don't know, but my disciple is a drinker by nature and has a straightforward personality. He is also handsome in appearance, and it is indeed easy to please girls, but the most evil one is the demon sect woman. How could she risk her life for others when they first meet her? If that were the case, all the handsome men in the world would have to be careful when going out. Now that I heard that my evil disciple was taken to Shaolin by the demon girl's men, I can just hold him accountable for what happened." Hearing this, many people around him looked at him strangely. Why did these words smell strange? After everyone thought about it again, they also understood what Lao Yu meant. First, my apprentice is handsome, and the seductress takes the initiative to support him. Second, the witch went crazy and brought disaster to Shaolin, which has nothing to do with my apprentice. Third, my disciple was coerced into Shaolin. Whether the truth is true or not, we cannot listen to what this old monk says. When did Yuan become so thick-skinned? Many people had such emotion in their hearts at the same time. Even Master Fang Zheng, who always bowed his head in compassion, couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. The stubborn Tianmen Taoist stood up directly and said, "Yuan, your disciple is the leader this time. Do you want to openly protect him?" "Senior brother Tianmen, why did I ever say that I would protect you? You misinterpreted the facts. The apprentice colluded with the witch, and now he has organized a group of thieves to attack Shaolin. Why do you have to quibble with this?" Lao Yu calmly shook his head. "Senior brother Tianmen, the facts in your mouth are not what you have seen. How can you be so sure? I know you are in a hurry now, but don't be anxious yet. When Master Fangjing told the story just now, I had doubts in my heart. First of all, my evil disciple had grown up with my Shaner since he was a child. He had already been in love with her, so it was obviously doubtful whether he was in love with the demon sect's enchantress. Secondly, Master Fangjing also mentioned just now that when the demon sect which sent the evil disciple up the mountain, he was already unconscious. The subsequent so-called 10-year agreement was also the witch's wish. My disciple had no way of knowing about it. I just want to ask a question here. Could it be that having great personal charm is also called wrong? Finally, less than a year after my evil disciple came down the mountain, how could he gather so many people and convince them? Brother Tianmen, have you ever thought that it was the other party who considered our 5 sacred alliance and deliberately released the news at this time to alienate them? Within us? Listening to Lao Yu's eloquent talk, Taoist Tianmen was immediately confused and his head was buzzing. Following the other person's train of thought, he actually felt that it made sense. Not only Tianmen Taoist felt this way, but all the Huashan disciples also recognized it very much. At the same time, they were also amazed by Lao Yu's eloquence at this time. What's even more interesting is that Qingqing, Hengshan and Hengshan didn't express any doubts after hearing this. Even the Songzhan sect, which always likes to show off its differences, just drank tea quietly without any objection. Fang Zheng and Wudang Chongshu looked at each other quietly. Fang Zheng nodded in agreement. There is indeed something fishy about this matter, and even if it is really the Linghu Little Friends organization, I believe that he is a person and will not do anything harmful to Shaolin. Lao Yu simply took up the topic and expressed admiration for Shaolin's willingness to bring out the Yi Jing Jing. After finishing the conversation, he asked one more question out of curiosity. Everyone knows the wonders of the Yi Jing Jing. I heard that it can cure. It has a miraculous effect on internal injuries. I wonder if my disciple's injuries have been cured now. Hearing this, Fang Zheng immediately showed a look of regret. Little friend Linghu seems to have misunderstood Shaolin. He thought that to study Yi Jing Jing, he had to enter my Shaolin temple. Without waiting for the elder to persuade him, he insisted on going down the mountain. Lao Yu said oh, and then condemned the evildoers for being stupid and unlucky to accept it, and then asked about the devil's holy girl. I was just about to talk about this with you. After little friendling who came down the mountain, I couldn't keep the holy girl from the demon sect any longer, so I let her go down the mountain early. But at that time Zhuo Dao besieged Shaolin. Rumors have spread, and the demonic sect's holy lady has not shown up to confirm. so there is today's misunderstanding. The old monk clasped his hands and spoke frankly. After hearing this, all the heads looked at each other, always feeling a little strange. Finally, Xuanhuan spoke, Master Feng Zheng, the matter has come to this, and it is meaningless to talk about anything else. Does Shaolin have a way to deal with it? I will provide corresponding assistance. Umitba, to make you laugh, Shaolin does have a solution. Master, just say it, that the old monk clasped his hands together and said with compassion on his face, our Shaolin plan is to evacuate all the temples before the other party arrives. When those people find out that there is no holy lady they are looking for, they will believe it and leave. Master, are you kidding? Those Swa Dao Shao are not far from here. Xuanhuan reminded. This is my Shaolin's true thoughts. Master, is indeed merciful. Umitba. I also believe in little friend Linghu. Chapter 48 Staking Out. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Yu Buchuan, who was listening on the sidelines, looked unchanged and said nothing. Soon, all sects, together with the monks in the temple, all evacuated to the back mountain. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name TaiwanNovelNetwork.circled. Only after arriving in the mountains did everyone realize that Xuanhuan was missing from the team, but the sect is right on the mountain, so it's no problem to go back for a meal or something. When Linghu Chong and others arrived at Songshan, it was already the afternoon of that day. Also hanging at the back were Lu Yuan and the others. Looking ahead, a group of people rushed up Songshan mountain. According to the original plot, they would find nothing in the empty Shaolin temple, and then began to realize that what Wudong Chongxiu said might be true, but they were afraid of Shaolin deception, so they planned to send people down the mountain to investigate. As a result, they found that the way down the mountain was blocked. After a charge and heavy losses, they had no choice but to retreat back to the mountain. Then during the rest period, the 6 immortals of Peach Valley started to act foolishly and almost started a fight within the team. Linghu Chong stepped forward to stop them. Then he led everyone to discover a secret passage leading directly to the bottom of the mountain, and finally successfully led them to escape. Lu Yuan recalled the original plot, and Lu Yuan and Lu Hua wore jungle polar suits and walked through the mountains and forests. The disciples of the Songshan sect who were ambushing him in the mountain roads were deliberately looking for him, but they could not escape their eyes. Surprisingly, Xuanhuan was not found. Was he not here yet? Lu Yuan remembered that in the original work, Xuanhuan personally led the ambush here. He wanted to reap the benefits, but Linghu Chong ran away. Although Lu Yuan had never met Xuanhuan in person, he could still judge the temperament of the superior. He didn't think too much and looked at the crowd in front of him heading straight for Shaoshi Mountain. The two of them turned towards the Songshan sect. From the beginning this time, Lu Yuan had no intention of Shaolin. The fact that they could free up the temple for inspection meant that the scriptures and secrets had already been transferred. There might not be any results if they went there. It would be better to go straight to the empty Songshan sect. The whole infiltration went very smoothly. The two of them went all the way to Xuanhuan's retreat room. It took less than a cup of tea to find the dark room. Just when Lu Yuan was about to open it, he suddenly turned his head and listened, with an expression of surprise on his face, which soon turned into amusement. She turned around and made a gesture to Lu Hua. The little girl also showed a surprised expression, and then nodded to express understanding. Click. The mechanism was opened by Lu Yuan, revealing the dark room of the room. Just as he thought, a fat white man was sitting in the dark room, looking at the visitor with burning eyes. They saw two young and ordinary faces. Although they were surprised, they still remained calm. Lu Yuan's eyes were playful. Xuanhuan. That's right. Aren't you surprised? Expected. You knew we were coming. This was just a guess. After seeing the changes in the heads of the other 3 sects today, I became more and more certain, so I took a gamble. Oh. What are you betting on? Xuanhuan did not speak, but raised his hand to indicate the secret book on the bookshelf on the right. These are all the martial arts secrets of our Songshan sect, including the internal skills I have practiced. Seniors can view them at will. Now Lu Yuan became even more interested. I'm not surprised that you can guess my purpose and prepare secrets, but now that you have seen my youth, you still want to call me senior, and you are so sure. Don't want to. Would you like to test my skills? I don't dare to think twice. You are young, so you may be disguised, you may have good looks, or you may be a genius yourself. Aren't you afraid that you will bet wrong? Xuanhuan shook his head. I trust my intuition. If it's really wrong, then it's wrong. Just treat it as a friend of the Xuanhuan sect. Lu Yuan smiled. This man really knew how to climb along the pole. Forget it as a friend, since you are so generous, I will naturally keep the borrowing fee. Come on, Lu Yuan swayed, and when he reappeared, he was already standing next to the bookshelf. Then Lu Huar did the same thing. Xuanhuan, who was sitting there, had his pupils constricted, and he couldn't see clearly at that speed. It's just one person, but it turns out it's the same for both of them. At this moment, his hanging heart began to look forward to it, and he knew that he had made the right bet. He didn't dare to make a sound at the moment, for fear of affecting the other person's reading, and the speed at which the other person read the book also made him very confused. He just kept flipping through it. Was it because he didn't like it, or was he looking for something? He was puzzled, but wise enough not to ask further questions. Time began to flow in this dark room, so quiet that only the sound of turning pages was left. Just when Xuanhuan was waiting quietly and his thoughts were a little scattered, the other party put down the last book, and even half a stick of incense didn't arrive. I heard the other party say, since you are here in person, I will ask directly, what do you want? Palm skills? Sword skills? Light skills? Or internal skills? I can help you optimize the sex classics. What? Upon hearing this, Xuanhuan's first reaction was confusion. What's the problem? He wanted to ask, have you finished reading it in such a short time? Do you also do this in other sects? What? Let me help you choose. Xuanhuan reacted and said doubtfully, if possible, I will choose internal strength. The book Ice Chi. Xuanhuan nodded. Easy to say. Next to her, Lu Huar had already prepared ink for Lu Yuan, and Lu Yuan almost started writing it. If it was other martial arts secrets, he might have to think about it, but Lu Yuan basically doesn't need to think too much about this kind of single attribute internal strength. It is impossible for a single thing to go to the extreme, just like the two sides of yin and yang. The extreme yang is too strong, and the extreme yin is too weak, so the yang pole produces yin, and the yin pole produces yang. If you want to take this Ice Chi a step further, in the current world of low martial arts, you must find a way of complementing yin and yang, otherwise your body will collapse directly. Seeing Lu Yuan writing as soon as he raised his pen, Xuanhuan became worried again. Could it be that he knew a similar technique? Thinking in his mind, he found it difficult to sit still, and subconsciously raised his head to look at the paper. You can come and see if you want, no need to be so pretentious. Lu Yuan's voice suddenly sounded, making Xuanhuan embarrassed. He coughed slightly and stood up, carefully walked to the other side of Lu Yuan, and turned his head to look. What comes to mind is the name of the new technique, Hanyan Jinshi. Inflammation. Why is there so much inflammation? Wouldn't that be a conflict? With doubts, Xuanhuan continued to look down. Lu Yuan wrote in great detail. The general outline explained in detail the principles of the exercises and the formulas for performing them. Xuanhuan suddenly realized what he saw, and suddenly felt a refreshing feeling of seeing the moonlight through the clouds and mist. He couldn't wait to continue looking down, but this time he couldn't see it. He found that it was not any other similar technique at all, but a deletion and modification based on his Ice Chi. Seeing that the direction of the meridians that he had painstakingly deduced was being denied and adjusted, Xuanhuan felt an inexplicable feeling in his heart, like a young employee whose design draft was criticized by the director. It made people feel aggrieved, but also a little dissatisfied. After seeing a small adjustment point, he quietly tried it inside his body. The result was that in just an instant, the smoothness was far better than before, and he became smoother. Mentality, looking at the sliding pen and ink again, his eyes instantly became eager. Lu Yuan naturally noticed all the other party's small movements, so he didn't say anything, quickly finished writing and put down the pen and ink. Xuanhuan was still staring at the previous manuscript. He and Lu Huar winked and planned to turn around and leave. Senior, at this time, Xuanhuan hurriedly said, although it's a bit presumptuous. It goes without saying. Lu Yuan interrupted directly, and his gaze made Xuanhuan feel substantial pressure. He could almost guess what the other party wanted to ask, and it was probably the same as Feng Qinyang, but he was too lazy to say it again. Without him, Xuanhuan would not be as pleasing to the eyes as old man Feng. Xuanhuan, your talent is actually quite good. This book Hanyan Jinshi can help you easily reach the innate level of martial arts. If you want to go up, you have to use your own brain. Go boldly and try. I'm looking forward to seeing it. The day you succeed. Innate in martial arts. Senior, what is innate in martial arts? Lu Yuan wanted to say something about his own understanding of innateness, but he felt that it would affect the other person's development, so he simply used a deduced metaphor. When you feel that your internal energy has come to life, just like your internal organs, it's an innate state. These words were firmly remembered by Xuanhuan. He knew that the opportunity was rare and wanted to ask again, but Lu Yuan raised his hand to stop him. Xuanhuan, you and I have different paths. What I tell you will only limit your development. This is not good for you. Xuanhuan suddenly smiled bitterly in his heart. He wanted to say, is there a possibility that I am not as powerful as you think, senior? If I can reach the level you mentioned, I would be satisfied. As if reading his thoughts, Lu Yuan pointed to the bookshelf in the distance where the secret books were kept. I know that most of the inheritance here comes from you. This is talent, and Xuanhuan in my impression is not so angry. Don't let me look down on you when you are weak. Such straightforward encouragement made Lao Zhua suddenly feel flattered. No need to complain about anything else, just give a solemn salute to the landing edge, it will certainly live up to your expectations. Lu Yuan waved his hand casually, and as his figure rose and fell, he and Lu Hua appeared more than 10 feet away. At this moment, Xuanhuan suddenly remembered something and immediately chased after him, loudly reminding him, Senior, please be careful of the genie way. If I can find out something, they can too. Far away, a voice floated from the front. Chapter 49 Hidden in the Temple. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Will he keep it a secret? After leaving Xuanhuan sect, Lu Hua asked worriedly. Yes, at least he won't do something stupid like reporting it to the court. But I feel like he is not as trustworthy as Senior Feng. You're talking about that old man. Lu Yuan smiled. Yes, there are very few pure people in this world, but they are often cute, but Xuanhuan is a different kind of person. What kind? Ambitious man. Lu Hua thought for a while and expressed her feelings just now. I felt the same way before seeing him, but after seeing him, it seemed different from what I imagined. It's normal. This type of person often has many sides. What you expect comes from the side he wants more people to see. Lu Yuan said something convoluted. What do people without ambition look like? Like us? No, we are not pure enough either. The girl actively objected. Lu Yuan laughed and touched his chin. If you have a chance later, you can observe Taoist Tianmen. If he didn't intentionally perform, he would probably be like that. Wait. Lu Hua caught the key word. Yes. Lu Yuan said with a wicked smile. Xuanhuan just reminded me. What do you think Genie Wei will do if he has the same guess as him? Ambush? Capture? But we didn't meet each other in the Xuanhuan sect. Lu Yuan spread his hands and continued to guide. That's. Lu Hua reacted, in Shaolin. It's very possible. Lu Yuan said leisurely, maybe they think the inheritance of Shaolin is more tempting. Even though they know that the place has been emptied, they still think we will go there. You mean, do you want to go take a look? Everyone is here. Then let me make some preparations. Lu Hua immediately took out a piece of green poisonous incense from her bag. Her tone was slightly expectant. When Lu Yuan saw it, his eyelids twitched and he quickly stopped him. Hua, calm down. It's not necessary. It's better to use this kind of killer weapon as a trump card. Let's sneak over and see the situation first. The two of them had a plan, and immediately quickened their pace and headed towards Shaolin. On the way, Lu Yuan organized the inheritance he had just received from the Xuanhuan sect. As his current martial arts experience gradually increases, there are more and more similar things. After filtering and absorbing, there are only 3 books left that can be mentioned: Ice Chi, Xuanhuan 17 Road Sword Technique and the Songyang Divine Palm. The former was pioneered by Xuanhuan, and the latter two were also modified and improved by the other party. There is no need to talk more about Ice Chi, which focuses on the transformation of extreme attributes. After reading it, he had some new ideas about the transformation of the 5 elements in the body, which enriched his attack methods. Xuanhuan 17 Ways of Sword Technique is a rare one-handed broadsword. It is not as exquisite as Yanggua's Xiantai sword technique in terms of its sophistication, but its majestic and heavy feeling is still worth learning from. As for the final great Songyang Divine Palm, it is rumored that it was originally created by an expert from the Xuanhuan sect and passed down from generation to generation. However, Lu Yuan saw the shadow of subduing dragon and iron sand palm in it, which can be regarded as a predecessor. A new flower blooming under the tree is worth seeing. By the time the two sneaked into the temple, Lu Yuan had already digested the harvest. At this moment, in the Shaolin temple, all 3 religions and 9 schools were sitting paralyzed in the courtyard to rest, judging from the injuries on their bodies. The plot has obviously reached a scene where the road to the mountain is blocked and everyone fails to break out and has no choice but to escape. Soon the 6 immortals of Peach Valley began to act like monsters as in the plot. Lu Yuan had no intention of watching and began to look at this 1,000-year-old temple. So many people were searching just now, but no genie way was found. I wonder if they really exist. Could it be that he was hiding under the mountain? Lu Yuan decided to wait and see. Time passes little by little, and the plot below quickly takes place to escape through the secret passage. A group of people entered the secret passage one after another, and soon the interior of the Shaolin temple became empty again. The two waited for a while, but the temple was still empty. Did we guess wrong? Lu Hua was wondering. Suddenly, more than a dozen people emerged from the secret passage just now, appeared and headed straight for the Sutra Pavilion. Judging from his clothes, he was one of the people who had just left. Lu Yuan became interested. He remembered that Ling Hu Chon would also return through here later, and he was actually one step ahead of him. Come on, let's follow and take a look. That the two of them shuttled softly across the roof tiles. Their excellent lightness skills made hiding an easy task. When they arrived at a house with white walls and black tiles, the two did not get closer, but took out a monocular to observe from a distance. I saw that group of people rushing to the Sutra Pavilion, bowing and clasping their fists. At this moment, the wooden door of the Sutra Pavilion quietly opened, and a middle-aged man in black clothes walked out. He said something to those people. Those people once again clasped their fists and scattered around, and 2 of them came towards them. After the leader finished speaking, he glanced around and returned to the Sutra Pavilion. Lu Yuan, they are coming. Lu Hua warned. Fine. Lu Yuan could see that the 2 people did not discover them, but more like they came here specifically to set up defenses. Deng stared. After a few quick steps, the 2 people climbed onto the eaves. Before their bodies landed on the tiles, 2 stones had already hit their tanjong points. This was a place where they could breathe easily, but under the strong force, the 2 of them were knocked out. They all felt chest tightness and felt so uncomfortable that they wanted to faint. At this moment, a suction force suddenly came, and the 2 of them flew towards Lu Yuan uncontrollably. Midway, a few more stones were shot out from the other hand, completely controlling the 2 of them. Take them under the house. Lu Yuan found that he seemed to like playing stones. Although he could also play sword energy, it was not as labor-saving as stones, nor as powerful as iron beads. It can be used as a regular method. As for the signature method, think about it again. After retracting and diverging briefly, Lu Yuan's eyes glowed with white light. Look at me. That the new version of mind confusion was activated, and the 2 people who originally had painful expressions looked at it subconsciously. With just one glance, their expressions were in a trance. Now, relax. Lu Yuan's voice rose and fell, following a special syllable. The dazed expressions of the 2 gradually began to relax, gradually turned into calm, and finally only remained dull. Tell me, your professional status. It still had that special tone, and the flowers on the street started to yawn when they heard it. Jinyui, Wang Gengsheng. Jini Wei. Du Tiniu. Tell me, your plan for coming to Shaolin this time. Set up an ambush to capture the mysterious man. Shaolin has been cleared, are you so sure that the mysterious man will come? Dong Qianhu instructed, the mysterious man's heart. This interrogation lasted for nearly 10 minutes, and the two people's necks were broken. Lu Yuan rubbed his brows, feeling that he was still a little exhausted. He has figured out what happened. Shaolin Wudong did cooperate with Jini Wei. The Qianhu named Dong had ambushed the Sutra Pavilion early in the morning. The reason why Ling Huchong and others did not discover it was because the person who came here to look for him was impersonated by Jini Wei. The group of guys led by Ling Huchong were originally a group of people from different religions, most of whom did not know each other, and more than a dozen Jini Wei were among them without being discovered. As for why they were sure that they would come, these two people didn't know much. They only said that it was the arrangement of Dong Qianhu, and they also made some psychological guesses. Lu Yuan thought about it for a while, and he didn't seem to have the same mentality. If Shuolengchan hadn't reminded him, he might have been watching the show outside. If Shuolengchan colluded with the other party to facilitate this incident, it can only be said to be a possibility. Very small, the only explanation is a coincidence, or maybe Dong Qianhu regards himself as a martial arts idiot, and has his own self-righteous psychological profile. As for the internal scriptures and secrets of Shaolin, they have also been transferred. It is said that in order to prevent him, they were transferred directly to Puqin Shaolin. This news really surprised Lu Yuan. At such a long distance, what did this group of monks think, and what did these two families think? The relationship is also somewhat unexpected, but at the moment, Lu Yuan didn't think about anything else. After knowing some arrangements, a disgusting plan quietly appeared in his mind. A familiar evil smile appeared on his face. TSK, 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 I'm looking forward to it. Chapter 50, Testing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the other side, after Lu Yuan left, Shuolengchan didn't care about the results of the siege outside. He immediately crossed his legs and changed the trajectory of his internal energy according to the new exercise chart. Unlike palm skills, sword skills, etc., you need to gradually become familiar with them to master the essence. Search TWKAN on Google. Based on the new technique deduced from the original Ice Chi, its special features have already begun to show after only one cycle of the Great Jotian. Shuolengchan closed his eyes and pushed forward with one palm. His movements were very slow. And his cold inner force stirred his clothes. Then the palm he pushed out suddenly swung sideways, as if a cool breeze was blowing, and a thin layer of frost had condensed on the entire table in front of him. Shuolengchan's eyes flashed with joy, and he retracted the palm he pushed out, returning chi to his dantian. There was no obvious smile on his face until this moment, although I just changed my technique. But the purity of the inner strength, the smooth operation, and the ease of control have been clearly revealed. At present, he is still stuck on the cold attribute of his inner strength. When he continues to practice and the cold nature deepens, he can try to change from ice cold to red fire. At that time, ice and fire will reach a perfect balance in his body, and he can shoot ice with one palm. But Yen can also stage a second heaven. This is the benefit of having powerful skills. Every time he thought of this, Shuolengchan recalled that figure again. In the other person, he felt a mentality that was different from that of the martial arts warriors in the martial arts world. It seemed that what people like him were pursuing could not enter his eyes at all. Shuolengchan didn't know that there was a saying, get rid of the pursuit of low-level taste. The feeling the other person gave him was ethereal and casual, as if he did everything with playfulness. The martial arts that I and others care about are like cabbage in the eyes of others, they can be done casually. He is really curious, what level of strength has the other party reached? Such questions diluted his previous complacency, but he did not feel discouraged because he was not as good as the other party. On the contrary, the presence of such a figure on the road to martial arts inspired the desire to pursue in his heart, an urgency that had not appeared for a long time. Now it is getting stronger. He was even proud that martial arts could be so powerful. This was probably a romance unique to warriors, after completing the modification of his internal strength, Xuanhuan left the Xuanhuan sect. After listening to the reports from his subordinates, he knew that the siege he arranged had become a joke, and Ling Huchong and others had already evacuated from the secret passage. In response to this, the subordinates who reported it were trembling with fear, waiting for Xuanhuan's anger at any time, but after he finished speaking, Xuanhuan just nodded and asked the disciples to go back first, while he took Lu Bai and others to join the various sections. The subordinate watched Xuanhuan leave with a look of astonishment on his face. He didn't know if it was an illusion, but just now he saw Xuanhuan smiling. Such doubts also appear in the minds of the major leaders in the back mountains of Shaolin. Master Xua, I'm happy to see you, but what good thing happened? The person who asked was Taoist Wudang Chongshu. This old man had a goat's white beard, and rubbed a few of it from time to time, and he seemed to have an air of a master. I just had a dream during my nap. Xuanhuan smiled calmly. Everyone was speechless upon hearing this. Good guy, we are still trying to survive in the mountain wilderness, so you go home alone to eat on a small stove, and you even get a nap. Of course, more people also heard that Xuanhuan just said it casually. Yuan seemed to be quite interested at this time and asked, Senior Brother Xua, if it is convenient, can you share your sweet dream? Upon hearing this, Xuanhuan knew that Lao Yu was testing his current attitude. This was the first sentence the two of them had spoken since they met today, not counting greetings. Of course, this is also the grand scene I want to see. In the dream, my 5 mountain sword sect is prosperous. Such a scene is unprecedented, far surpassing the glory of our ancestors in the past generations. At the same time, the righteous way is flourishing and the devil's sect is dying. Speaking of this, Xuanhuan looked at Fang Zhang and Chongshu. I saw that Shaolin Wudang took the lead and our 5 mountain sword sect worked together to finally successfully annihilate the demon sect. Such a picture makes me happy. I wonder if all the masters are listening. What do you think? Snap. Lao Yu tapped the Analects of Confucius in his hand. Wonderful. I, Huashan, am really looking forward to such a grand scene. If it can really happen, it will naturally be a great joy for the world. Tianmen Taoist said carelessly. I, the Hengshan sect, support it. Ding Xian's words were simple and his attitude was clear. As Shaolin Wudang's leading figures, it is most suitable for them to take the lead. Hengshan Moda was the one who spoke. I, Qingqing, would also like to see that kind of thing. A feminine voice made many people around shiver and made Yu Sanhai groan again. This seemed to be a start, and other forces in the world also expressed their approval one after another. However, Shaolin Wudang, who was pushed out, was a little anxious. They looked at each other and Fang Zhang was the first to stand up. This matter is very important and cannot be settled in one word. It will be discussed in the future. Today, there are still immediate matters to attend to. I just received the news that little friend Ling Hu has led everyone down the mountain. I believe that the outcome of this incident has been resolved. Why don't you all follow me back to Shaolin to see what's going on? Naturally, everyone had no objection and started to return the same way. On the way, Xuanhuan and Yuan checked their eyes and found that they had the same attitude. As for Emoda, forget it, the two factions have grudges. But judging from today's situation, the grudges can be put aside for the time being. A group of people returned to Shaolin. Lu Yuan, who had been waiting on the eaves to watch the show, immediately became alert and ate melon seeds faster. Now, with the intervention of him and Lu Hua, many people and things have changed. He now wants to know how the plot will play out today. Just like the original novel, Fang Zhang and Chongshu, who came back, took the lead in advocating. I knew that I could trust the character of Ling Huchong. Lao Yu had a blank expression on his face, as if he had not heard anything. Next, just like the original plot, the incident that could have ended, but began to take a sharp turn because the demon cult Xuanhuan was discovered. The former leader of the demon cult, Ren Wuxing, and Saint Ant Ren Yingying also appeared one after another. The scene became tense in an instant. Although Ren Wuxing was crazy, he decisively chose to admit his defeat when he saw that the upright people gathered around him and there were only 3 of us. He politely clasped his fists to the people around him. saying that they had only heard that Ling Huchong had brought people up the mountain and wanted to come to dissuade him, but the other party had already left. In this case, they left. However, how could they let go of a thief who broke into the SWAT nest? The cold murderous intent instantly enveloped the three people. At this moment, Fang Jing suddenly stepped forward, stopped in front of Ren Wuxing and the other two, and said with compassion. Ren Wuxing, it's not that easy to leave. I want to compete with you 3 times. If you win, we will let you go down the mountain immediately. If you lose, you will stay in Shaolin for 10 years to improve yourself and bring peace to the world. As soon as these words came out, the atmosphere on the scene changed, from the original siege to a martial arts fight. Swo Lingchan and Yuan looked at each other and confirmed their eyes again. They were people with the same views. When Ren Wuxing heard that there was such a good thing, his heart was relieved immediately, but he pretended to be forced. It seems that we have no choice. In this case, who will go first, master? Bah! You devil, with master's reputation in the world, how can you fight him? Yu Canghai's voice suddenly came from the side, obviously wanting to be the first to attack. This is a good opportunity to become famous. Where did the monster come from? Is it a man or a woman? Ren Wuxing opened his mouth and said real damage. Yu Canghai's face was gloomy, and he was about to draw his sword. As a result, Fang Jing took the lead and stood between the two. The old monk started with the 1,000 hands to Thagata palm just like in the original work. He rushed up, he met the opponent, he encountered the star-absorbing method, and he used the Yi Jin Jing. He lost. After taking a few breaths, Fang Zheng was about to say something, but saw Swo Lingchan rushing in, forced to start the second fight. The old monk's expression changed and he secretly gave Taoist Chongxu a look, who nodded calmly to show his understanding.